Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bridge Podcast. If you're new to this podcast, you're welcome. And if you are our OG, you've been listening to us back to back to back to back. We see you, we appreciate you, and you're welcome once
Shout
again.
out to y'all.
Shout out to you.
honestly,
Yeah, you're doing a good job.
yeah.
I am Joyce, and I just want the rest of the crew to introduce themselves briefly. Just your names.
Okay, I didn't see that coming. I'm okay.
I'm Jen.
I'm Vanity.
Yes, and we are Bridge, if you're just hearing about us. So the month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Happy New Month to you, by the way. And the month is dedicated to recognizing victims and also raising awareness about domestic violence. We are also advocates who advocate for domestic violence prevention and eradication totally. So it's actually a good thing that this month exists just for us to have these kinds of conversation. However, today we're not talking about the causes of domestic violence, but we are going into solutions. And one of the solutions include having healthy relationships, knowing the difference between what is healthy, what is toxic, and what is abusive. So today it's all about healthy vibes in here, and we're talking about healthy relationships. And we have something called a relationship spectrum. And according to the Arizona State University Sexual Violence Awareness, Prevention, and Response Unit, they describe a spectrum or healthy spectrum as a situation whereby relationship exists on the healthy basis, the toxic basis, and the abusive basis. But today, like I said, it's all healthy vibes in here. So we're going to talk about healthy relationship, guys. Are you ready?
We are ready.
Okay,
Let's
ready.
get into it.
Okay, so some of the things that's listed to being in a healthy relationship with another partner is having communication, healthy communication, respect for each other, having trust with each other, honesty, equality, enjoying your personal time away from each other, so a little bit of that individuality, and then making mutual choices as well as economic and financial partnership. What do you guys think about that? Did something like stand out to you in this list?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's like really nice that the National Domestic Violence Hotline could like come up with something like that and just put that piece out there for people to like, you know, see what healthy traits are and what unhealthy traits are. So I feel like, yeah, shout out to the National Domestic Hotline for that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kick off, Jen, or whosoever.
All right, so let's get into it, right?
Yeah.
So the first one, which I think is one of the most imperative ones when we discuss healthy relationships, is communication, right? So let's dive into that, y'all.
Yeah.
Communication, effective communication. So what does that look like in a healthy relationship? I think that when I think of communication, the first thing I think of is listening to understand and not just to respond.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, we're having a conversation and being effective in, like, listening to, like, what I'm actually saying.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a little bit into, you know, that conflict resolution, right? Because that's a key in being able to resolve any type of discrepancies or conflicts within a relationship, being able to hear one another.
Right.
Another thing I think about when I think about communication is having self-awareness. So, like, being able to say, like, have that awareness of, like, how I'm feeling, what is going on, and then being able to effectively express that with my partner. I think a lot of issues that arise with communications is that a lot of people are unaware of the actual issue itself, right? So it's like those behavior traits. Like, I see that you're like, you like are slamming doors. Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah,
like, why,
yeah.
why are you slamming that door? That was a little bit higher, right? Or even things like, you know, just like, something that might not be that goes into your like regular like agenda for the day. Like, I'm not making dinner because I'm upset. So it's like, oh, okay, like, I wish I would have known that you were upset instead of just picking up on all these
Yeah,
cues.
yeah.
Like, you know, like, that's where that effective communication comes in there. Like, okay, I'm feeling this way. And that goes for both ways. I'm feeling really happy when you do this.
Yeah.
I like that when you do this.
Right.
So that you know to keep doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or that this is like some type of positive reinforcement, right? Like, I like when you do this. And I don't like when you do that. Communication is key in discussing and having those conversations, because we know that relationships, it's important that we know that relationships evolve.
Yeah.
Right? They are constantly evolving, and they are constantly coming with ups and downs. That's with any relationship, right?
Yeah.
That communication is key in resolving these ups and downs. So we have to have it. It has to be a part of your relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually
agree.
think- you want to say something? Okay, so I actually feel like in general, Black people should start talking to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you know, start communicating in a respectful way. You know, and that way, because I feel like when you communicate in a respectful way, you would encourage the other person to listen to you. Because most times when you ask people like, oh, so why didn't you listen? It'd be like, oh, the manner of approach wasn't good. You know, you're coming to me in a confrontational way.
Yeah.
And that way, like, you know, the I don't want to say the demons, but like the you know, I just become energized to like respond to you in an unhealthy
did,
way
right.
because you're coming like in a very confrontational manner. So
Yeah.
I have my guards up, you know,
Matching
so,
that energy.
Yeah, matching
Yup.
matching the energy.
yeah.
So I also feel like the manner to like be respectful, and also wanted to add that a Georgian state researcher examined factors in successful marriage. So this is like what research is saying that and this was based off of just Black marriages and Black people. And the study is titled Black Marriages Matter, Wisdom and Advice from Happily Married Couples. And it was designed to help young African-American couples understand the factors that can lead to happy marriage and a long-term healthy relationship. So Antonio Skipper from Georgia, he examined 35 happily married couples from several states across the U.S. Who were in a long-term relationship. And he said something. He said that recognized that many Black families have relational strengths that contribute to long-lasting unions, and that most times one of the issues that causes, you know, marriages to break or a relationship is unhealthy communication, and that we now know that these things are paired with systematic barriers to marriages and sometimes unrealistic desire in marital partner. Many young Blacks have grown to like see marriages as unattainable, and he was like using the research to actually show Black people that, you know, there are Black healthy marriages, there are Black healthy relationship, in that it exists. So yeah, I feel like that's a very good study that people should check out because it has like a whole lot of lessons for couples to learn.
Right.
That's
I think
good.
that's very interesting. And also, I think going off of what Jen said the other time about cues, I also think that there are different types of ways to communicate to people.
Right.
I mean, aside from using the verbal cues, there might be non-verbal cues that I think, as much as possible, say it. Don't
Yeah.
make the other person assume this is what you're communicating. But on the other hand, I feel like partners are also expected to be conscious and sensitive to the behaviors of their partners, sensitive to their feelings. So if my partner is, acting all grumpy, she's squeezing her face, or he's just moody, or he does the things that he doesn't usually do, I think it's also a way to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
But don't make it like a habit of saying, oh, my partner should be able to read my mood. He's not Jesus or any religious person who can do that. But like we also need to communicate the non-verbal cues appropriately and like Oge said, respectfully.
There are people who can't read cues, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially social cues is a huge it's a
Like
huge
everybody grew
thing.
up differently too.
Yeah.
So we have to
Right.
also remember that like
Right.
everybody grew up differently.
Yeah.
But that's why like I get what you're saying. Like if I'm seeing something though, if I'm seeing something, and I see that like you were saying, like you're slamming doors or you're just sitting there and you're quiet and I can't I don't really know what this is or what's going on. That's why that communication part is like important.
Right.
So I definitely get that.
I like that too, like, because on both ends, like, I should be able to communicate when I'm upset, but also communicate with me if you feel like something may be amiss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think some other things too. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, just go ahead.
I think another thing too on the list I really liked is enjoying like personal time
I was
away
gonna
from
say
each
that.
other. Okay.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, I just think that's really important because you can lose yourself in a relationship, even in a really healthy one, and that can cause maybe some codependency and stuff like that too. And so just being able to really still hold that individuality and still have your friends and still be able to talk to them, because sometimes we have rose-colored glasses on, these lovey-dovey glasses on, and we can be wrong or we could be right. And our friends that we're really close to, our family, a lot of times knows us, and they can see not just like, oh, this is a healthy relationship because you say this is a healthy relationship, but and not even because of how this person treats you outside of when we're around, but just how you look, like how you behave, like when you come with us, are you drained, all of these things. So like really being able to enjoy just time away from each other, I think is a really healthy aspect in a healthy relationship.
I mean, I think I have something to say about that when it comes to long distance relationships, because I've seen people in those kinds of relationships, and I see that when you're in a long distance relationship, there is always this need to always talk to this person 24/7, be on the call with them, just to make sure like they're doing okay, just to avoid, things lost in words and meanings. And so there is this urge to always, is that you're on FaceTime with this person, or is that you're constantly communicating, except maybe when you have like to do other stuff that doesn't require them being there. And I think it's also important that you also enjoy taking time away from this person, even if it is long distance, with the urge to always communicate. And the caveat is, if you have to do that, you also need to communicate with the person, just so they don't think, oh, you just disappeared on me or you ghosted me or something. Because I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was she was feeling down, and I was asking her, what's going on with you? And then she said she just felt like she's like boxed in a corner because she has to talk to this person like every time. I'm like, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's just for you to tell the person, oh, I'm going to take like a few hours off, or maybe I'm taking a few days off. Not because I don't want to be in your company, but just because I need to reflect on some things, just to have fun with my friends too. So I think that's also important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're in this time too. I just want to acknowledge that we're in this era, especially like brought about from social media, of like my man. And I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear that, we're not saying like don't spend time with your partner. I just want to be clear. I just want to
take
be
days
clear.
off.
I just want to be clear on that. You should, however, have the ability to enjoy personal time away.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like that ability is, if you're capable of that, that is a red flag in itself. We're not going to get, you was going to say, we all the same way. Now, we're not going to get into the red flags too much today, right now.
No, not right now.
But I just really want to get into that, as you should have the ability to do it.
In
Now,
any
whether you take that in any relationship, whether if you take that, again, that goes back to that self-awareness. But you shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't have to, because you're in a relationship, cut everybody off. That is what we are saying. Or you shouldn't have it so demanding that you have to, it inhibits you from doing your daily things. Right? So just want to, because we always. Because we always want to be clear. So go ahead, okay?
Yeah, I feel like always, research has said like people are finding joy from like other things aside having to like put the pressure on the other person to like bring you that joy. So if that person is like the sole source of why you're happy, the sole source of why you're existing, the sole source of why you find meaning to life, then that's like putting too much pressure on the other person.
Right.
You know, and yeah, it's not healthy. So enjoying that personal time, you know, it doesn't even have to be you leaving the house.
Yep.
Just whatever thing that makes you feel like, okay, this is my space, this is my time. I'm having this reflective moment, you know, I'm having just this ease moment. You know,
I
Why
was,
you
cause
smiling?
I'm laughing because I was literally just thinking that, like, that could just mean I'm watching this Netflix
Yeah.
show for the next 4 hours.
On your
and I don't want
own.
to, like,
Go
I
for a
just
walk for 2
yeah,
minutes.
like,
Yeah.
that it could be something as simple as that.
Yeah.
So I'm just laughing because
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, because I want to watch a Netflix
Yeah.
show.
I feel like the whole other persons might be like, oh, I never used to have personal time. But just think about it, like just you alone, you know, doing something. That's your personal time. That's
Right.
you being alone with yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not saying take a solo trip.
Yeah.
You could. You could. But we not telling you to go to those
We're
lands.
not saying we're not saying
You
that.
gotta change your whole life around.
Yeah.
You know, just self-care, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the little 2 minutes.
Go to the spa.
All right, so let's get into another trait then, right? So we talked about communication. We talked a little bit about respect and enjoying personal time.
Yep.
Let's go into that trust.
Yeah.
All right, what does that look like in a healthy relationship to y'all?
I think we talked a little bit about this before, but I definitely wanted to bring it up is that friendship piece of the opposite sex and like what that looks like. And that absolutely has to also do with communication, which a lot of these things do. But communicating and then also knowing that the other person, just like yourself, has your own individual self, the other person is also an individual person and has control over their own lives. So when they decide to have a friend of the opposite sex, like how does trust kind of play into that? And I think that it really does look like, one, yes, communicating, but also like allowing them to have friends. I think it's very difficult if you haven't had a friend of the opposite sex before we were dating. But I think it's a journey of being like, okay, I know that this person loves me and cares and respects me enough not to do anything crazy. So if this person is saying that this is a friend, then maybe I should trust this person enough to let them explore that friendship in a respectful way. What do you guys
I'm really
think?
very curious about what research says, honestly, because I feel like at some point in your life when you become a researcher, you always want to be like sure about what other lived experiences have said about the issue, you know, especially when you've not lived that experience. And that's what research is, you know, bringing lived experiences together to like form. So I don't really know what to say to that, but I feel like on a personal note and like with experiences I've had, it depends on like the extent of boundaries they have. You know, that's one. And it also depends on what is causing me or what's causing the person to like be disturbed. Is it because there's a history of infidelity? Or, you know, what's the problem? Why are you like worried about this other person? Why has it gotten to that stage where you're worried that there's somebody else in the picture who is a friend, you know? So I feel like answering those questions in bits, you know, could actually, and answering them constructively and rationally could make you like come to a conclusion. If it's you who is just taking one foot ahead to like being, you know, overly worried and disturbing yourself, or there's really an issue to be worried about, you know. So
That's good.
I mean,
think that's what
I have a whole lot to say, but I just want to like unpack it one after the other. Hopefully I don't forget. I know there's been a lot of social media brouhaha about opposite sex best friends. And I mean, it's something that I also have experienced. But I think the ultimate fact is, as much as this person chooses to say, oh, I trust you, you also have to be plain and come clean. Don't give actions that sort of, that the other person might misread. Don't put yourself in like compromising situations that you will not be able to explain. And if, of course, if there is something that has maybe happened between you and this opposite sex best friend, be able to, I mean, let your partner. I mean, I have a lot of no, yes, maybe kind of situations with that, because some people will feel, oh, what happened to me should stay with me. Like telling my partner may mean bringing up issues where there are not, especially if it has happened longer before I met your partner. But as much as you want to talk about, be open about it, as much as you want to, but also don't put yourself in compromising situations that would make this person feel, am I crazy to have trusted in you? Am I crazy to just trust your guts and everything? So yeah, you want the person to trust you, but also be trustworthy.
Yeah.
I think that I mean, obviously, it's definitely on a case by case basis, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
individual those relationships, like your relationship, understanding what that looks like for that relationship. And I think that definitely has, again, we have a lot of overlap with these healthy traits, right? Communicating like what that looks like for us to have partners or friendships of opposite sex, if that even is an issue within that relationship. And then being respectful about it, as you said, having these boundaries, like, okay, well, this is what this looks like for me, and being respectful of like how I feel about it. But then it really encompasses like, like that trust, like, okay, we've had this communication, we've established what that looks like as far as being respectable towards one another. I trust you to carry that out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can we talk about how this plays out in just friendships?
general.
Trust in friendships.
What do you mean?
Just platonic relationships, just like Ogie and I, friends. How does trust play out?
I don't know what you mean, but if what you mean is like, being a safe space for someone and like, having to like keep what they say to you because I always say this thing that like best friends most often have best friends. So like
Right.
I could say, oh, this person is my best friend, and this person could have another person as their best friend, and then the other person could have. So I'm always like, we're all like a friendship 3 or something.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Joyce, I'm getting it now. What trust looks like in like friendship.
Friendship, yes, just friendships.
I think there's not that much of a difference. Like they still all incorporate what we've all been talking about is within partnerships. I still think that, I trust me and my friends to be respectful towards one another.
Of course.
I expect us to be able to communicate with one another. Yeah, I don't really think there's much of a difference. I think the level of intimacy
Just
is what excuse like the situations that may arise and things like that. But no, it's a solid foundation with these same exact traits. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Why I asked this because, for instance, if you have like a group friendship of like maybe 6 to 7 people and you say, oh, you guys are friends, there is this tendency that you get closer to one person than the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
And there's a tendency that, okay, what this person tells me, because this person is also close to me, I have to also tell them because we're all in the same friendship groups. But I think it also boils down to the fact that, like Ogie said, there are some things that I will tell you that maybe because I'm the closest to you out of the bunch, I might be forced or I might feel tempted to tell another person. But like if we don't establish how we want trust to be in that large group of friendship, then it's a friendship that is bound to fail. So like, of course, all of these tips are included for friendship relationships, but I just wanted us to like point it out.
Let me quickly say this, right? So last week something happened with one person. I don't know if I consider a friend, but yeah, like friend. So he was like, I told him something which he got to know by chance, not because I wanted to tell him. And then he told somebody else. So I was in a gathering and somebody approached me and said, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, yo, how did you get to know about this, And because I knew like this was the only person I told who is close to this person. So this was how he got to know. So I approached my friend and I was like, yo, what's up? Why did you tell this guy this stuff? And he told me something that really struck me, that got me thinking. He was like, oh, you didn't tell me not to tell anybody.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, fair, I was really pissed, but when he told me that, I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough. But I just told him like, bro, I didn't expect you to like tell it to anybody because, I don't roll with this other person. So I didn't feel like the person needs to like know my business. Yeah. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that, and he was like, moving forward, if you tell me something that you don't want me to tell another person, just tell me not to tell another person. And I'm like, okay, this is how he works. This is how our friendship is going to be.
Yeah.
If I want to tell him something I don't want him to tell someone else, I just tell him, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like we should give that, not for everybody, but there are some people we should just give that, what do you call
grace?
that? Not really grace.
Plus.
Yeah, something like clause, but like give that information or that warning to, like, that soft warning to, like, oh yeah, don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I really think that we're talking about these tips and we're talking about it on the podcast, which is conversational, right? I think that we really encourage y'all to have these conversations.
Conversations, yeah.
that's
Because
so
we
true.
really, like, a lot of the times, because that similar situation happened to me, we just expect that people know what trust looks like to me.
Yeah.
Like, just have a conversation.
Yep.
What does trust look like to you? What have you had in your experience
Yeah.
that has made you feel like, oh, this person is untrustworthy?
Yeah.
So that I know what trust
Means.
and, you know, things that don't look like trust, what that looks like to you. What does that look like to communicate? We already talked about, like, the different communication styles,
Yeah.
right? Have these conversations with your partners. Have these conversations within all your relationships across the board.
Yeah.
But like really like have these conversations
Yeah, I
because
think
people
that's a
don't
good
know.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Yeah. I feel like if there's anything you're going to take out of this podcast is like take out the ability to like communicate about anything with
Yeah.
anybody. Just have those conversations aside like the gossip of what's happening in social media, what celebrities are doing and all that stuff. Like have other kind of deep conversations. Like what does this mean to you? Or like what I was talking with Joyce a few minutes ago, and we're talking about trauma and how, you know, there are certain things that have caused us to have
Yeah.
certain characters and certain traits that we're not even aware of until we sit down and think about, oh, wait, where did this character come from? You know, and then you start deeping, you know, extracting from the roots and seeing, you know, causes of the. So I feel like people should have conversations, have deep
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that part of that really rolls into, you know, being honest with yourself
Yep.
and being honest with your partner.
Yeah.
I know that it's hard sometimes to like we're talking about these healthy tips and it's like, oh, you know what? I actually really don't engage in that. Don't pretend like you do.
Yeah.
Be honest about it. Like, you know what? If I don't engage in that, how can I?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't
Yeah.
expect everybody to be perfect.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this podcast. We are trying to spread awareness
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
education. We don't expect everybody to be. If everybody was on this level, we wouldn't have to be here.
Yeah.
Let's really get
All
into it.
Even
So-
we, the podcasters, we are
We
still
still
work
are
in
learning.
progress.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Joy.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Joy.
That's good.
Sometimes we
are
have
doing
these
that.
conversations, and after we're done recording, the conversation still carries on. Like,
Yeah.
we still have, like, you
Yeah.
know.
Because it's been a couple times where the people on this podcast, I ain't gonna point no fingers,
Okay.
have called me out, and then I was like, wait a minute.
I mean,
Don't talk to me like that.
caught my sob today on this podcast. So.
But I'm appreciative that
Yeah.
you all are here to even like help me grow. This is a growing life learning
Yes,
progress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like being honest on like what that looks like for me. Do I engage in all these things? If I
Yeah.
don't, how can I continue or how can I grow? I'm sorry. And then like being honest with your partner about it too. You know what I mean? Having that honesty, like, and again, that keeps going back to like self-awareness.
Yeah.
Having that self-awareness to engage in all of these tips.
Yeah, I agree. And just before we wrap up, I do just want to point out the equal and making mutual choices is also a part of that. Like having that communication, that's some of the things that's on the list as well. Is like also seeing your partner as a human being. Like you both
Yeah.
are human beings. And there should definitely be equality in the relationship and mutual respect. So,
And lastly, economic and financial partner, like having to like agree on some financial stuff,
Yeah.
and you know some
Responsibilities.
responsibilities as well. And just to quickly add that the study I mentioned earlier, they actually found that financial agreement may be more important to marital stability than financial comfort. So just to agree
Can you
about
take that again?
financial agreement may be more important to marital stability than financial comfort. So this is what the finding found from those 35 long-lasting relationships. You want to say something?
I do.
Yeah.
Not on that though.
Oh, go ahead. No.
I think that okay, so we've given all of the information, right? We've given all the tips.
yeah.
We got some research to back it up. I just wanted to quickly provide
Resources.
not resources, but
Oh.
some pros on
Okay.
engaging in these things, right?
okay.
There's a lot of benefits that go into having a healthy relationship
Yeah.
and using these components that we've just discussed, right? So some components of having a healthy relationship is improved health, mentally and physically,
Yep.
greater economic stability.
Yes.
We just talked about that a little bit, and better social connections. These are all the components of having a holistic well-being,
Right.
right? So we're not just saying this because, you know, it's good to have a healthy relationship, but it literally improves your life.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure, and then we will have some of the resources to that because that was from multiple studies put into one. So we'll have those resources on our
Website.
On our website.
We do have a new website
Yes.
out, guys, that we will be adding to the podcast or adding the links to the podcast where you'll be
Yeah.
able to look at research and things like that
Yeah.
we're talking about. But just on what you were saying, Jen, another thing that I read like a year or two ago is that it also improves like community. Like if you're a relationship, because community is relationship, right? And so if you're in a healthy relationship, you also are able to give back into the community. So it also improves the Black community to have these healthy Black relationships.
Right, right. And we also have a friend. Did I say friend?
Yeah.
We have an author amongst us who
Oh,
has
okay.
also written
Oh, wow.
extensively about intentionality, especially
Yeah.
building healthy relationships. So, do you want to talk about it, or you just?
Yeah, right. Okay. So the book is Intentionality is on Amazon Kindle.
Yeah.
And it's free to read on Kindle. And I think we also have it up on our website as well. So you can just click on the link and just read about, I mean, it's a relationship style that I'm preferring, that people should be intentional with each other, have intentional conversation, respect people intentionally, be honest with people because that's what you want. You know, when you want something, you model what you want.
Right.
So
Thanks, author.
that's it, guys.
I'll end with, I feel like having healthy relationships in a community is almost like being like having like different lights, and then we see when like a whole bunch of light comes together how bright it can be.
Yeah.
So we just
that's
encouraging
good.
everybody to be like that source of light within their own relationship
Yep.
to develop, like just to continue to grow. And to, like Vanity said, like having a healthy community, because that's what the goal is for
Yep.
us.
It's accessible. We can do it, guys.
All right. Take
Yeah.
these tools.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
these tools.
Yes. And support your local domestic violence resources and services out there, all of the communities. And that's it.
It
It's
is.
a wrap.
All
That's
right.
it, people.
Be healthy.